Daniel O'Connell speaks on repeal of the Union. I accept with the greatest alacrity the high honor you have done me in calling me to the chair of this majestic meeting. I feel more honored than I ever did in my life, with one single exception, and that related to, if possible, an equally majestic meeting at Tara. But I must say that if a comparison were instituted between them, it would take a more discriminating eye than mine to discover any difference between them. There are the same incredible numbers. There is the same firmness. There is the same determination. There is the same exhibition of love to old Ireland. There is the same resolution not to violate the peace, not to be guilty of the slightest outrage, not to give the enemy power by committing a crime, but peacefully and manfully to stand together in the open day, to protest before man and in the presence of God against the iniquity of continuing the Union. At Tara I protested against the Union. I repeat the protest at Mullaghmast. I declare solemnly my thorough conviction as a constitutional lawyer that the Union is totally void in point of principle and of constitutional force. I tell you that no portion of the empire had the power to traffic on the rights and liberties of the Irish people. The Irish people nominated them to make laws, and not legislatures. They were appointed to act under the Constitution, and not annihilate it. Their delegation from the people was confined within the limits of the Constitution, and the moment the Irish Parliament went beyond those limits and destroyed the Constitution, that moment it annihilated its own power, but could not annihilate the immortal spirit of liberty which belongs, as a rightful inheritance, to the people of Ireland. Take it, then, from me that the Union is void. I admit there is the force of a law because it has been supported by the policeman's truncheon, by the soldier's bayonet, and by the horseman's sword. Because it is supported by the courts of law and those who have the power to adjudicate in them. But I say solemnly, it is not supported by constitutional right. The Union, therefore, in my thorough conviction, is totally void, and I avail myself of this opportunity to announce to several hundreds of thousands of my fellow subjects that the Union is an unconstitutional law and that it is not fated to last long. Its hour is approaching. America offered us her sympathy and support. We refused the support, but we accepted the sympathy. And while we accepted the sympathy of the Americans, we stood upon the firm ground of the right of every human being to liberty. And I, in the name of the Irish nation, declare that no support obtained from America should be purchased by the price of abandoning principle for one moment. And that principle is that every human being is entitled to freedom. My friends, I want nothing for the Irish but their country, and I think the Irish are competent to obtain their own country for themselves. I like to have the sympathy of every good man everywhere, but I want not armed support or physical strength from any country. The Republican Party in France offered me assistance. I thanked them for their sympathy, but I distinctly refused to accept any support from them. I want support from neither France nor America, and if that usurper, Louis Philippe, who trampled on the liberties of his own gallant nation, thought fit to assail me in his newspaper, I return the taunt with double vigor, and I denounce him to Europe and the world as a treacherous tyrant, who has violated the compact with his own country, and therefore is not fit to assist the liberties of any other country. I want not the support of France. I want not the support of America. I have physical support enough about me to achieve any change, but you know well that it is not my plan. I will not risk the safety of one of you. I could not afford the loss of one of you. I will protect you all, and it is better for you all to be merry and alive to enjoy the repeal of the Union. But there is not a man of you there that would not, if we were attacked unjustly and illegally, be ready to stand in the open field by my side. Let every man that concurs in that sentiment lift up his hand. The assertion of that sentiment is our sure protection, for no person will attack us, and we will attack nobody. Indeed, it would be the height of absurdity for us to think of making any attack, for there is not one man in his senses in Europe or America that does not admit that the repeal of the Union is now inevitable. The English papers taunted us, and their writers laughed us to scorn. But now they admit that this is impossible to resist the application for repeal. More power to you. but that even shows we have power enough to know how to use it. Why, it was only this week that one of the leading London newspapers, called the Morning Herald, which had a reporter at the Linsmore meeting, published an account of that great and mighty meeting. In that account, the writer expressly says that it will be impossible to refuse so peaceable, so determined, so unanimous a people as the people of Ireland for the restoration of their domestic legislature. For my own part, I would have thought it wholly unnecessary to call together so large a meeting as this, but for the trick played by Wellington, and Peel, and Graham, and Stanley, and the rest of the paltry administration, by whose government this country is disgraced. I do not suppose so worthless an administration ever before got together. Lord Stanley is a renegade from Whigsome. Sir James Graham is worse. Sir Robert Peel has 500 colours on his bad standard, and not one of them is permanent. Today it is orange, tomorrow it will be green, the day after neither one nor the other, but we shall take care of it that it shall never be dyed in blood. That there is poor old Duke of Wellington, and nothing was ever so absurd as their deification of him in England. The English historian, rather the Scotch one, Allison, an angry Tory, admits that the Duke of Wellington was surprised at Waterloo, and if he got victoriously out of that battle, it was owing to the valor of the British troops and their unconquerable determination to die, but not to yield. No man is ever a good soldier but the man who goes into the battle determined to conquer or not come back from the battlefield. No other principle makes a good soldier. Conquer or die is the battle cry for the good soldier. Conquer or die is his only security. The Duke of Wellington had troops at Waterloo that had learned that word, and there were Irish troops among them. You all remember the verses made by poor Shan Van Voigt. At famed Waterloo, Duke Wellington would look blue, if Paddy was not there too, says the Shan Van Voigt. Yes, the glory he got there was bought by the blood of the English, Irish, and Scotch soldiers. The glory was yours. He is nominally a member of the administration, but yet they would not entrust him with any kind of office. He has no duty at all to perform, but as a sort of Irish anti-repeal warden. I thought I would never be obliged to the ministry, but I am obliged to them. They put a speech abusing the Irish into the Queen's mouth. They accused us of disaffection, but they lied. It is their speech. There is no disaffection in Ireland. We were loyal to the sovereigns of Great Britain, even when they were our enemies. We were loyal to George III, even when he betrayed us. We were loyal to George IV when he blubbered and cried when we forced him to emancipate us. We were loyal to old Billy, though his minister put into his mouth a base, bloody, and intolerant speech against Ireland. And we are loyal to the Queen, no matter what our enemies may say to the contrary. It is not the Queen's speech, and I pronounce it to be a lie. There is no disaffection in Ireland, but there is this, a full determination to obtain justice and liberty. I am much obliged to the ministry for that speech, for it gives me, among other things, an opportunity of addressing such meetings as this. I had held the monster meetings. I had fully demonstrated the opinion of Ireland. I was convinced their unanimous determination to obtain liberty was sufficiently signified by the many meetings already held. But when the minister's speech came out, it was necessary to do something more. Accordingly, I called the monster meeting at Lowray. I called another meeting at Clifton. I had another monster meeting at Lismore, and here now we are assembled on the rath of Mulligamast. Oh, my friends, I will keep you clear of all treachery. There shall be no bargain, no compromise with England. We shall take nothing but repeal, and a parliament in College Green. You will never, by my advice, confide in any false hopes they hold out to you. Never confide in anything coming from them, or cease from your struggle, no matter what promise may be held to you, until you hear me say I am satisfied. And I will tell you where I will say that, near the statue of King William in College Green. No, we came here to express our determination to die to a man, if necessary, in the cause of old Ireland. We came to take advice of each other, and, above all, I believe you came here to take my advice. I can tell you, I have the game in my hand. I have the triumph secure. I have the repeal certain if you but obey my advice. I will go slow. You must allow me to do so. But you will go sure. No man shall find himself imprisoned or persecuted who follows my advice. I have led you thus far in safety. I have swelled the multitude of repealers until they are identified with the entire population, or nearly the entire population, of the land, for 7/8 of the Irish people are now enrolling themselves repealers. I do not want more power. I have power enough, and all I ask of you is to allow me to use it. I will go on quietly and slowly, but I will go on firmly, and with a certainty of success. I am now arranging a plan for the formation of the Irish House of Commons. It is a theory, but it is a theory that may be realized in 3 weeks. The repeal arbitrators are beginning to act. The people are submitting their differences to men chosen by themselves. You will see by the newspapers that Dr. Gray and my son and other gentlemen have already held a petty session of their own, where justice will be administered free of all expense to the people. The people shall have chosen magistrates of their own in the room of the magistrates who have been removed. The people shall submit their differences to them, and shall have strict justice administered to them that shall not cost them a single farthing. I shall go on with that plan until we have all the disputes settled and decided by justices appointed by the people themselves. I wish to live long enough to have perfect justice administered to Ireland, and liberty proclaimed throughout the land. It will take me some time to prepare my plan for the formation of the new Irish House of Commons. That plan which will yet submit to Her Majesty for her approval when she gets rid of her present paltry administration and has one that I can support. But I must finish that job before I go forth, and one of my reasons for calling you together is to state my intentions to you. Before I arrange my plan, the Conciliation Hall will be finished, and it will be worth any man's while to go from Mullaghmast to Dublin to see it. When we have arranged it, I will call together 300, as the Times called them, bog trotters, but better men never stepped on pavement. But I will have the 300, and no thanks to them. Wales is up at present, almost in a state of insurrection. The people there have found that the landlord's power is too great, and has been used tyrannically, and I believe you agree with them tolerably well in that. They insist on the sacredness of the right of the tenants to security of possession, and with the equity of tenure which I would establish, we will do the landlords full justice, but we will do the people justice also. We will recollect that the land is the landlord's, and let him have the benefit of it. But we will also recollect that the labor belongs to the tenant, and the tenant must have the value of his labor, not transitory and by the day, but permanently and by the year. Yes, my friends, for this purpose I must get some time. I worked the present repeal year tolerably well. I believe no one in January last would believe that we could have such a meeting within the year at the Tara demonstration. You may be sure of this. And I say it in the presence of him who will judge me, that I never will wilfully deceive you. I have but one wish under heaven, and that is for the liberty and prosperity of Ireland. I am leaving for England to the English, Scotland to the Scotch, but we must have Ireland for the Irish. I will not be content until I see not a single man in any office, from the lowest constable to the Lord Chancellor, but Irishmen. This is our land, and we must have it. We will be obedient to the Queen, joined to England by the golden link of the crown, but we must have our own parliament, our own bench, our own magistrates, and we will give some of the Shawnees, who will now occupy the bench, leave to retire, such as those lately appointed by Sugden. He is a pretty boy, sent here from England, but I ask, did you ever hear such a name as he got? I remember, in Wexford, a man told me he had a pig at home, which he was so fond of he would call it Sugden. No, we shall get judicial independence for Ireland. It is for this purpose we are assembled here today, as every countenance I see all around me testifies. If there is anyone here who is for the Union, let him say so. Is there anybody here for the repeal? Yes, my friends, the Union was begot in iniquity. It was perpetrated in fraud and cruelty. It was no compact, no bargain, but it was an act of the most decided tyranny and corruption that was ever yet perpetrated. Trial by jury was suspended. The right of personal protection was at an end. Courts martial sat throughout the land, and the county of Kildare, among others, flowed with blood. We shall stand peaceably side by side in the face of every enemy. Oh, how delighted was I in the scenes which I witnessed as I came along here today. How my heart throbbed, how my spirit was elevated, how my bosom swelled with delight at the multitude which I beheld, and which I shall behold, of the stalwart and strong men of Kildare. I was delighted at the activity and force that I saw around me, and my old heart grew warm again in admiring the beauty of the dark-eyed maids and matrons of Kildare. Oh, there is a starlight sparkling from the eye of a Kildare beauty that is scarcely equalled, and could not be excelled, for all over the world. And remember that you are the sons, the fathers, the brothers, and the husbands of such women, and a traitor or a coward can never be connected with any of them. Yes, I am in a country remarkable in the history of Ireland for its bravery and its misfortune, for its credulity and the faith of others, for its people judged of the Saxon by the honesty and honor of their own natures. I am in a country celebrated for the sacredness of shrines and fanes. I am in a country where the lamp of Kildare's holy shrine burned with its sacred fire, through ages of darkness and storm. That fire which for 6 centuries burned before the high altar without being extinguished, being fed continuously, without the slightest interruption, and it seemed to me to have been not an inapt representation of the continuous fidelity and religious love of country of all the men of Kildare. Yes, you have those high qualities: religious fidelity, continuous love of country. Even your enemies admit that the world has never produced any people that exceeded the Irish in activity and strength. The Scottish philosopher has declared, and the French philosopher has confirmed it, that number 1 in the human race is, blessed be heaven, the Irishman. In moral virtue, in religion, in perseverance, and in glorious temperance, you excel. Have I any teetotalers here? Yes, it is teetotalism that is repealing the Union. I could not afford to bring you together. I would not dare to bring you together, but that I had the teetotalers for my police. Yes, among the nations of the earth, Irish stands number 1 in the physical strength of her sons, and in the beauty and purity of her daughters. Ireland, land of my forefathers, how my mind expands, and my spirit walks abroad in something of majesty, when I contemplate the high qualities, inestimable virtues, and true purity and piety and religious fidelity of the inhabitants of your green fields and productive mountains. Oh, what a scene surrounds us! It is not only the countless thousands of brave and active and peaceable and religious men that are here assembled, but nature herself has written her character with the finest beauty in the verdant plains that surround us. Let any man run around the horizons with his eye, and tell me if created nature ever produced anything so green and lovely, so undulating, so teeming with production. The richest harvests that any land can produce are those reaped in Ireland. And then here are the sweetest meadows, the greenest fields, the loftiest mountains, the purest streams, the noblest rivers, the most capricious harbors. And her water power is equal to turn the machinery of the whole world. Oh, my friends, it is a country worth fighting for. It is a country worth dying for. But above all, it is a country worth being tranquil, determined, submissive, and docile for. Disciplined as you are in obedience to those who are breaking the way and trampling down the barriers between you and your constitutional liberty, I will see every man of you having a vote, and every man protected by the ballot from the agent or landlord. I will see labor protected, and every title to possession recognized, when you are industrious and honest. I will see prosperity again throughout your land. The busy hum of the shuttle and the tinkling of the smithy shall be heard again. We shall see the nailer employed even until the middle of the night, and the carpenter covering himself with his chips, I will see prosperity in all its gradations, spreading through a happy, contented, religious land. I will hear the hymn of a happy people go forth at sunrise to God in praise of his mercies. And I will see the evening sun set down upon the uplifted lands of a religious and free population. Every blessing that man can bestow and religion can confer upon the faithful heart shall spread throughout the land. Stand by me. Join with me. I will say, be obedient to me, and Ireland shall be free.